Boys and girls, for Chapter 4, Lesson 1, we are going to be working on algebra. And what we're going to be doing specifically is we're going to be looking at multiplication patterns with decimals. So boys and girls, our essential question, it says, how can patterns help you place the decimal point in a product? And we know from our last little study that product is the answer in a multiplication problem. So what we're going to start is with our real-world unlock the problem about Cindy. Cindy is combining equal-sized rectangles from different fabric patterns to make a postage stamp quilt. Each rectangle has an area of 75 hundredths of a square inch. If she uses 1,000 rectangles to make the quilt, what will be the area of the quilt? So what it says is we are going to, first strategy is use the patterns to find a product. So what we're going to do is we're going to use multiplication patterns. Notice we start with 1, then we increase to 10, then we increase to 100, and then we increase to 1,000. 1 times 75 hundredths is 75 hundredths, because any number multiplied by itself is the same number. And that is the identity property of multiplication. Next, boys and girls, it says 10 multiplied by 75 hundredths. We know that we're going to move the decimal place one space over to the right, and we get 7 5/10. Next, 100 times 75 hundredths. We're going to move the decimal spaces 2 spaces to the right, because there are 2 zeros in 100. And finally, boys and girls, 1,000 times 75 hundredths. We're going to move 3 decimal spaces to the right, and we're going to have to add a 0 for our answer to be 750. So the quilt will have an area of 750 square inches. So boys and girls, the next question really makes me understand as a teacher if you know what you are doing when you're looking at multiplication patterns. It says, as you multiply by increasing powers of 10, how does the position of the decimal point change? And you'll notice, boys and girls, that this is something that we've worked on since the beginning of the year with our multiplication chart at the back of the room when we've done our calendar. When we multiply by 100, we move 2 positions to the right, and the decimal becomes a whole number. That's the same exact principle we're going to apply here. So what we would say, boys and girls, is the decimal point moves 1 place to the right as I multiply by each power of 10. Now next, boys and girls, it says place value patterns can be used to find the product of a number and the decimals 1/10 and 1/100. So we're going to look at the next example, which is a kind of a different little bit of strategy, but we're going to look here at the blue box for what we need to do first. So boys and girls, it says what fraction of the actual size of the building is the model? And then it says write the fraction as a decimal. So we're going to read about Jorge. Jorge is making a scale model of the Willis Tower in Chicago for a theater set. The height of the tower is 1,353 feet. If the model is 1/100th of the actual size of the building, how tall is the model? Now, because the model is 1/100th, we know that the model is smaller. So right here, it says the model is 1/100th the actual size. So what we would do is we would write that information down here, and we know that's connected to directly what we read in the word problem. Next, boys and girls, it says to write the fraction as a decimal. We know that 1/100th written as a decimal would be 1/100th. And we know that this is the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. So boys and girls, again, we start with the multiplication patterns. 1 times 1,350 is 1,353 because any number multiplied by itself is the same product. Next, we're going to multiply by less. So because we're multiplying by less than 1, boys and girls, we are going to move to the left this time instead of the right because our number and our product is going to be smaller. So 1/10 times 1,350 is 135 and 3/10. Next, boys and girls, 1/100th times 1,353 is going to move 2 spaces to the right. So our answer is going to be 13 and 53 hundredths And we know that this, boys and girls, is the actual size. Because remember, we're saying the model is going to be smaller. So Jorge's model of the Willis Tower is 13 and 53 hundredths feet tall. Now, this is a little different than the first question that was asked us, boys and girls, because it says, as you multiply by decreasing powers of 10, how does the position of the decimal point change in the product? It doesn't. It changes, boys and girls, because the decimal point moves one place to the left as I multiply by decreasing decimal place value. So boys and girls, in this example, remember, whenever you're multiplying by a decimal, it's less than 1, so your product is going to be smaller than your other factor, and we can see that that's the case. This amount here is smaller than our factor. This amount here is smaller than our factor. So boys and girls, we have one last example to go over, which is example 2, and it says, 3 friends are selling items at an arts and crafts fair. Josie makes $45.75 selling jewelry. Mark makes 100 times as much as Josie makes selling his custom furniture. Chance takes a tenth, and I'm going to underline the tenth, of the money that Mark makes by selling paintings. How much money does each friend make? So we know that Josie made $45.75. If we know that Mark makes 100 times as much, we know we're going to multiply 100 times the amount Josie made. So if we do 1 times $45.75, we get $45.75. If we do 10 times $45.75, we get $457.50. And if we multiply 100 times $45.75, we get $4,575.00. Now we know that Chance makes a tenth of the money. Now when we hear the word tenth, boys and girls, as a decimal we report that as 1/10. So boys and girls, what we're going to do is we're going to take 1/10, and remember we're comparing it to Mark's money. Now that we found Mark's answer, we can plug that information up here. So Mark made $4,570. Now when we multiply that amount by 1/10, boys and girls, it says to think 1 times $4,575 is $4,575. 1/10, remember, because it's a decreasing value, we're going to move the decimal space 1 to the left. So our new amount, boys and girls, will be $457.50. Remember, because we were multiplying by decimal, our product was going to decrease and move 1 space to the left. So Josie makes $45.75. Mark makes $4,575, and then Chance makes $475.50. So boys and girls, we're going to try this and complete the pattern as just one more little exercise that we have. So the 0 power of 10, boys and girls, we know is 1, and 1 times 4 and 75 hundredths is 4 and 75 hundredths. The first power of 10. So boys and girls, the first power of 10 is really like saying 10 times 1, which is 10. 10 times 4 and 75 hundredths is 47 and 8 tenths. Notice we move the decimal space 1 space to the right. And the reason why it's going 1 space to the right is because these are increasing powers of 10. So when we do increasing powers of 10, we move decimal point to the right. So remember, boys and girls, the second power of 10 is really saying 10 times 10. 10 times 10 really is 100. 100 times 4 75 hundredths is going to be 478. The third power of 10 is really like saying 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. 1,000 times 4 78 hundredths is 4,780. Now, boys and girls, we can see we're multiplying by decimal here. When we multiply by decimal, we're going to move the decimal space, or decimal point, I should say, to the left. And why we do that is because the product is going to be less than the factor that it's being multiplied by, because we are decreasing the number. Remember, it's less than 1, so the product is actually going to be less than the other factor that we're multiplying by. So when we do 38 times 1, we get 38. When we do 38 times 1/10, if we move one decimal space to the left, we're going to get 3 8/10. 38 times 100th, we're going to move from the original number 1, 2, and we would have 38 hundredths. So remember, boys and girls, if you are multiplying by an increasing power of 10, you're moving to the right one decimal space each time. If you're multiplying by a decimal, you are moving to the left because your product is decreasing.